how have you come to think about the concept of productivity and its constituent parts? Have you got any tools, any strategies, tactics that you use to kind of drop yourself into a productive state and stay there?
Yeah, so I do all the things that I profess, you know, at the level of the basics: morning sunlight, non-sleep deep rest if I didn't get enough sleep, physiological size when I need to bring my level of autonomic arousal, aka stress, down. These are all things I've talked about. 3 days a week of cardiovascular training, 3 days a week of resistance training, 1 day a week of deliberate cold, deliberate heat minimum, usually on the day after leg day. I do all that stuff. And it creates a structure. And yes, it takes some time. And a lot of that stuff can be combined, with consumption of podcasts and audiobooks at the same time, and social time. But for me, the process of writing, and I'm working on a book now, but also just the creative process has been greatly enhanced, and productivity overall, by setting in this 20-minute period where I force myself to just stop and have deliberate thoughts that are within a single context. I don't let my mind wander. So it's very different than maybe the psilocybin journey where
it sounds to me a little bit like active meditation, or kind of like narrative meditation in a way. You know, you're forcing your mind to come back to you're not just allowing yourself to branch off onto a new thought. Okay, here I am. This is the trunk of the tree, and I'm going to try and follow this trunk as high as I can. What about, you know, you're sitting down at the desk, you have the research to do, the emails to write, the whatever. What have you got tactically in terms of a priming or a structure for that specific situation?
Yeah, I used handwritten sticky notes, and I'll put the thing that I'm supposed to do, and I'll keep looking at it because I'm amazed at how often my mind will flit to other things. So it's like, oh, I have to transfer some money to somebody that I owe them, or I have to pay that bill, or I mean, the number of excuses that leap to mind is outrageous for everybody, unless we're under deadline, fear, or extremely rare, but, you know, high motivational states because we just simply love it. So I give myself 5 minutes or so to break into the work, or 5 to 10 minutes. I don't expect full focus in that first 5 to 10 minutes. But here's what I tell myself, because I know from 30 plus years of experience, the feeling that I'm going to get after I complete something, having like really had to push against the grain to force my attention back to that thing, the feeling of having accomplished even a 1 hour bout of work is so incredibly rewarding for me. And the feeling of having done basically nothing is such an incredible sense of disappointment and lack of life, like such a vitality drain for me. I'm not as hard on myself as I gather some people out there are. Like David Goggins talks about his self-talk and how he can be very hard on himself at times. But mine isn't like that. But I know how great it's going to feel when I get to the...
So you're projecting forward the reward that you're going to feel and trying to bring that into the now. That's very smart. I've got written on my I've got two fridge whiteboards. The other is, what would you tomorrow want you today to do?
Right.
And that to me is it's like a panacea for avoiding bad decisions. Because you live with the story that you tell yourself about the decision for way longer than the enjoyment or lack of the decision. There is a cookie on the table. I promised myself I wouldn't eat it, and I make a decision about whether or not I eat the cookie. There is either enjoyment or reward, enjoyment in eating it, or reward of satisfaction of discipline for not eating it. That happens now. But what's really important is the story that I tell myself tomorrow about being the sort of person that is a cookie eater or is not a cookie eater. And I think that framing that we place around the present moment largely determines our experience of it. And I find myself trying to live for future Chris more. And the more that I do that, the better that my life seems to get. There are very few situations in which I make a decision today that I tomorrow would have wanted me to, that turn out to be the wrong decision. And that projecting forward, how am I going to feel in future? This is difficult now. Rick Hansen, neurons that fire together, wire together. Like, can you sit with some of the satisfaction after you've done something that's good? Can you maybe even bring that forward a little bit? Give yourself a little, oh yeah, that's how it's going to do. One other thing that I've just been so fascinated by recently You have been a big proponent, and I think have really helped people in getting sunlight in the eyes early on. Let's get ourselves outside. Walk. I think you taught me about the lateral eye movement can downregulate the amygdala response. All stuff that I'd found on my own just through doing a morning walk. And then again, like with the alcohol thing, gets legitimated through the science. You know, it's something that I did, found it myself. And then I'm like, this wasn't just bro science or some weird quirk of my physiology. This was actually something that can be shown up in the literature too. Rian Doris from the Flow Research Collective has the Flow morning routine. Have you seen this from him?
I haven't, but I know Rian.
Rian's an absolute monster. His morning routine, developed with Stephen Kotler to get yourself into flow specifically for deep work and writing, is to begin working within 90 seconds of waking. Because the state of flow and the state of sleep are not far away from each other in terms of brain frequency, delta and theta.
Yeah, they're sort of liminal state. Yeah, I haven't seen that yet, but I'll check it out. I am a big believer in the moment you wake up, if you were dreaming, keep your eyes closed and keep your body completely still. Also, similarly, if you wake up from a nightmare and you want to forget about that nightmare, you need to move your body. There's something about body movement that discards the prior cognitive map. It's like it clears the library. We're talking about the dynamic Harry Potter-ish library. I don't want to give too much credit to Harry Potter, certainly not to that play. But one thing that I'll just, about the productivity piece before reflect on this further, because something you said really struck a chord with me. You know, I can project to the future me, but that's not exactly how I do it. I just know, because I'm so familiar with it, the feeling that I get having actually accomplished some small percentage to large percentage of what I was set out to do feels so unbelievably rewarding to me. And I know that it also enhances the social interactions I'll have. It's like a feeling of self-satisfaction that transcends to an ability to show up with more clarity of mind. One of the problems for me in terms of productivity is I'm very strongly affiliative. I'm very fortunate to have a lot of close friends. So if I get a text message from someone, I feel compelled to write them back, not out of responsibility, because if it's someone I'm close with, I love that person. Like, I love my family, but I love my friends. I love my coworkers, colleagues at the podcast. I mean, it extends, and this has to do with my upbringing, the fact that my non-biological family became my family before I sort of reconnected with my actual family in a really deep way. But the one exception being my sister and I were tight the whole time. But for me, a text coming isn't a distraction. Like, that's the good stuff in life. That's one of the reasons I'm there. So I have this practice sometimes of imagining that my crew, right, as the kids say, I'm pretty crewed up these days, which is great because it wasn't always the case. They want me to like forage off to where I need to go and collect the gems and come up with the ideas that are going to be the next post, the next podcast, the next scientific study. They want that. I tell myself they want that for me. Like, they're cheering me on because I know I'm cheering them on. Some are musicians, some do other things. I'm cheering them on. I want them to know, like, I'm here and I want you to go get the stuff and do your thing. And so I imagine that they're doing that for me, and I turn my phones off. And there's some anxiety in doing that. I'll put it in the car sometimes because it's not that I need to neurotically check the phone because I don't feel safe if I don't hear from them. Like, I love these people and I don't want them to feel as if I'm not available. That's really how it is for me. But I know that, and I think someone said it and I forget the quote, so forgive me, but if you're going to create anything of value in this life, you're going to, even if it's with other people, you're going to have to be willing to be on your own for a bit, to forage on your own, to take walks alone, and then return to people, to your tribe, so to speak, and share with them what you've learned, or maybe even just show up with whatever energy shift has occurred while you were off doing your thing. And so, the phones are a wonderful tool, but I think over the years, I lost the ability to be truly on my own and dropped into work. And it's something that I've recovered a lot in the last few years by telling myself that indeed they want me to do that. And indeed, I show up so much better to all the relationships in my life if I've done some real—
satisfied with a good day's work.
Yeah, it's or just that, got over that barrier of resistance. The Stephen Pressfield thing of resistance. I wrestled with resistance and won. I think we should all want people to win. And I also and I confess I'm going to lose some friends with this, but I have variable latency in terms of my text replies. Sometimes it's a day, sometimes it's an hour, sometimes a minute, sometimes it's a month. I love being on a plane and scrolling through old texts and be like, hey, how's it going? Missed this. And people are like, that was a month ago. Yeah, it was. And, I've been busy, and emergencies are dealt with, but it happens.
We'll get back to talking to Andrew in 1 minute, but first, I need to tell you about AG1. AG1 is a product that I've been using every single day for over 3 years now. Dr. Huberman himself is a massive fan because it is the most comprehensive foundational daily nutrition supplement on the market. My digestion is so much better since I've started using AG1, and I genuinely can't remember what life used to be like, but when I stop using it, I do not like the way that my body feels. Since 2010, AG1 has led the foundational nutrition revolution, continually refining their formula to create better, smarter ways to elevate your health. AG1 is the supplement I trust to provide the support that my body needs every single day, and that's why they've been a partner for so long. If you want to take ownership of your health, it starts with AG1. You can get all of this with your first purchase, a free year's supply of vitamin D, 5 free travel packs, free pots, shakers, and that 90-day money-back guarantee by going to the link in the description below or heading to drinkag1.com/wisdom. That's drinkag1.com/wisdom. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you enjoyed that clip with Dr. Huberman, you will love the 3-hour episode that you can watch right here. Go on. Press it.